We're a few days on from the last video, so let's see what's been going on. So we have now got we've now got the tiling in the kitchen done. I can see a couple of queries straight away. Why on earth you put a trim along there, I do not know. You should have cut these tiles into the post right the way up, and then we just put grout in between them and the post. But it's something and nothing, that really. One thing that he did do to start with is he cut around the switches with the tiles, so the switches were recessed into the wall and pretty well impossible to use, and certainly impossible to get out very easily if you needed to do anything. So he said he would take the tiles off and do it properly, as he has done with these ones after we queried it. But no, what he's done is he's filled in. So unless the cover actually covers that mark around the edge, that's going to be a reject, and I'm going to smash those to pieces in anger, because that's just ridiculous. Right, deep breaths, Mike, deep breaths, because now you've got to go into the bathroom. And he's cracked on with this without us actually having very much input, because we've not been here, so fingers crossed. Sweaty cup. Right, that wall's done. The floor's done, but you can't see much of it. And he's cracking on with the this wall's done as well. Yeah, they look like nice tiles anyway. These were Suntory's choice. I'm just inspecting all the joints really. All looks okay. Of course, I've got to measure the distance between the toilet pipe and the finished tiles. That's the most important thing to do. Okay, well, he's had Monday, Tuesday. He's had 2.5 days at that room, so he's cracking on with that quite well. Of course, they're bigger tiles, and there's a lot less cutting than this kitchen, which is an extremely fiddly job with nearly every tile that's involved in this kitchen. Worktop and the counter has needed cutting, so this is an extremely slow job, and now he's cracking on with the jobs which are a lot faster, and the cutting is a lot easier as well. Well, this is our second day back from a short absence. You will be watching this video probably about 4 to 6 weeks after it's actually filmed. We had to have a couple of days in Pattaya for Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, because I wanted to attend a service in commemoration of her, and we went on the Sunday, and we had expected the man here to have a day off on the Sunday like he did the previous week. So we were due back on a Wednesday, and in theory he would have spent Monday finishing the kitchen, and by the time we got back he would have just had a day and a half in the bathroom. But in fact he worked on the Sunday, and so he had 3 days in the bathroom, advancing himself there quite nicely, unfortunately. I'm just showing you a load of extra adhesive we've had to buy, because despite buying 10 bags of that red stuff and 7 bags of green crocodile, he's managed to get through all that in literally 3 days of work, mainly because of the thickness of the glue that he's using on the walls, which was a criticism I had of him on the kitchen as well. Anyway, how can I put it? He's left the job. He's been given a heave-ho, and there were just too many little things that weren't right, which we could get away with in the kitchen. But in the bathrooms, where it's absolutely important, so important that everything is done correctly because of the danger of water seeping through the tiles and going into the bedroom or onto the outside wall and ruining any paint that we put on there, we decided it's best to get another team in. He didn't do a half bad job in here, frankly, in some respects. The floor, I've checked the floor, I've checked every tile for its direction of slope, and it's pretty damn good actually. Although there are a couple of tiles in that corner, particularly the one in the very corner, which I'm a bit doubtful of. But until we actually grout it and put water in here, we won't know for sure. The problem in here for us is that he was putting adhesive on the tiles and then putting them on the wall, and he wasn't doing it right up to the edges. So we've got lots of hollow spots. Now, of course, that means we're totally reliant on the grout to keep the water away. We should have solid adhesive behind these tiles, especially in the shower area, but I would prefer it across the whole of this room because it's a wet room, and when we clean it we're going to be spraying the walls with water and things like that. So we can get away with it here because we'll just be careful, but a lot of these areas are hollow as well. The problem ultimately might be we get some broken tiles there if we're not careful. Anyway, the other thing was that he wasn't using these spacers correctly all the time, so we've got some dodgy joints. I mean, look at this. Some of these spacers are forced in after the tile's been put in, just probably to keep me happy. They're not being used to actually set the tiles. So I don't think he actually knew what he was doing on walls. I think he's actually pretty good on floors where you do put a thick layer of adhesive on, because floors generally here are 3 to 4 centimetres thick, and so I think he knew what he was doing on the floors, but he was trying to apply the same principles on the walls and it just didn't work, and he was struggling to get the tiles set and breaking a few tiles as well because of the way he was applying the adhesive. Anyway, he's gone. Before he went, he did sort out this tile here, these tiles rather, around this plug. And I'm not sure if he's cut these correctly or just these are the old tiles. No, these must be the ones that he's cut. So they need to be glued on there by the next team. I think at the end of the day, all this sort of problem, all the problems we've been having with this build are all because we're not around, and they're all because for that reason we're not able to control what these people are doing, and we're trusting them to know what they're doing from the word go, and they just don't. They do it their way, and they are determined sometimes to do it their way rather than my way. And of course ultimately it's my way or the highway. And I did say in an earlier video, you know, you don't want to wind these people up too much in case they walk off the job. And I don't want people walking off the job midway, not knowing where we stand. But it does work the other way around as well, and I'm afraid that sometimes you have to get rid of people in a controlled manner. And we did it. We did it last night after we had considered our options and spoken to other people. So that's the situation here. We're now in the process of tidying up the site, big time. T-Rack, if you've got any big tiles, oh, you're keeping the big tiles?
Yes.
Yeah, good, okay. And are you putting those bits around the back?
I keep this one.
Yeah, you're going to throw those over the wall here?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we're putting our tile rubbish over the wall to help build up the protection for the boundary wall at the back from flooding. We've got to get rid of the rubbish somewhere, and we don't have facilities like they do in Western countries of refuse sites. So putting it around the back there is going to be quite effective because, in fact, I will walk you there now. What it's doing, it's providing a very rough covering where water can splash away from the wall. And we won't suffer the erosion that we were suffering before. So all our rubble and all our rubbish is going down there. Not all our rubbish, but all our rubbish and tile rubbish. And what we'll do is we'll spread that out, and then there'll be a layer of something going on top of that later as well, which will bind in between. And we think that's quite an effective way to protect this wall. In fact, I've said it before, but there has been no water getting to the actual edge of the wall here when it's flooded. The digging that I've done has been quite effective, even though a lot of the sand has washed away, as someone suggested it would. So we will end up having to get some decent soil in here to build up a higher protection. But in the meantime, we're going to put these tiles, all the offcuts of our tiles and everything down here. And hopefully that will give a sort of foundation, if you like, so that any water that falls there onto any earth we put on there won't wash it away so readily. So yeah, we're having a big clear out, big clear up I should say. All the odds and sods that we don't want anymore are getting taken away. We're then going to spread these stones out. Well, we're not going to spread them out, we're going to place them, and I'll spread them out as and when. We're going to place them ready for spreading out once we know that no one's going to come in here and make a big mess anymore. What's the other thing I want to do? Grouting the kitchen. We've got a couple of people from the new team coming today to do an assessment of the work required and probably confirm their pricing and any repairs. So I'm not going to bother grouting the bathroom yet, because they might actually insist on taking everything down and starting again on that. And if that's the case, that's the case. It's going to cost us some money, but you know, that's what happens when you manage things yourself. And frankly, we haven't done it properly. We have to hold our hands up and say we've trusted too many people, and we've tried to employ local people and family members, if you like, to give them income, instead of concentrating on getting a good job first time by paying outsiders who don't have any sort of relationship to us here in the village. But I do want to grout this because I'm happy enough with this area to say that it's completed. apart from the fitting of the kitchen cupboards, which is another saga. And the last thing is to create some proper downpipes for the roof, which I'm going to need Suntoray to help me with. So that will get done sort of in the next couple of days. I'm very annoyed by our dogs. No, they're not our dogs, they're Suntoray's dogs. I purchased three of these brand new things for doing grouting, because we're going to have a lot of grouting to do. And I was intending to do it, although we might end up with the new team doing it if they're that good. Bloody dog got in this morning because Matey came to collect his tools and left the gate open. And I'm no word of a lie, these haven't been used yet. In fact, these weren't even unpacked. These two were in bloody plastic, and the dogs completely ruined them. That's another waste of money and time. Effing dogs. Right. So, yes, just tidy up and let our woes be a lesson to anyone thinking of building themselves or having a strong hand in it. Keep the freaking dogs away and make sure you're on top of the builders all the time. And yeah, I admit it doesn't work employing family members. I've read it a lot online saying don't employ family members, employ third parties who you can sack, who you can criticise, who you can have an argument with without upsetting in the same manner. But it wasn't my decision to employ a lot of these people, and there you go. We try to help, and in fact I think we're a bit too soft. We're a bit too soft with people, you know, trying to help people and doing them a favour, and it sort of backfires on you eventually. But ultimately, it's a bit extra money. Unfortunately, it's not expensive here, so we're not talking thousands of pounds, we're talking thousands of baht. It's a bit of extra time. The worst thing is it's a bit of extra stress, and to be honest with you, at my age, that's the one thing I want to avoid all the time, and I've sort of vowed not to get involved in things that cause me stress. So yeah, don't really want that. Right, that's the summary for today, and we'll see how it goes from now. We haven't got much time before Suntoray starts her work elsewhere in Thailand, and so we've either got to see if this team can be very quick in spending 1 week finishing everything for us. We believe they're a big team, but we don't know what commitments they've got. So either they've got to do that, or she's got to be impressed enough to let them get on with it, because they are actually a professional building team and tiling team from a different village or town. So maybe we can trust them more. And we've seen she's had a good conversation with them so far, and was quite impressed. Or we've got to wait until she finishes her work in December and get them in then. I don't mind anyway which way it happens, to be honest, because with Suntoray away, it's not like I'm going to be moving in here in a hurry. Yesterday when we went to get the glue, we also went to exchange our sink, because the bowing of the sink we couldn't correct. So we thought, okay, well we're going to have to go and get glue anyway. We'll take the sink back and see if we can get a replacement, and we did. So I've now got to see if this will go in flat into this hole, and hopefully it will be flat enough, because when I was looking in the shop, it seemed to be slightly bowed again, but much less than the other one. So let's go and see what's going to happen. Well, that sink's much better, but it's not perfect. We've got a bit of a gap here, but it's better than the other sink was, and I think that gap might have been created somewhat by the angle that these tiles. I don't think these tiles are perfectly level, so we'll work with that, because it's all going to have to be sealed around anyway, and I think we're just going to have to accept that. We can't very well take that back and try and get another one. They're going to think we're taking the mickey. These are our new tiling company. They come to make an assessment, so that's good. They're very prompt. Well, the grouting's done. Got the top edge to do, right along the top there. That's got to be, well, the grout got to be poured down the back, because there isn't much glue behind the tiles up there, and then fill that gap with grout. So that's for another day, and we've got to grout underneath this half of the counter. That won't take long, and the top of the counter as well. So that's slightly wet, but it looks clean. Unfortunately, it dries like that, and it's going to need a couple of cleans before it will come up properly. But that's looking all right. Of course, we'll have units on the wall in due course. Ah, now that's another story, isn't it? We chose blue units, or Suntory chose blue units. They didn't have any in the shops that we went to as display items, but they showed us the white ones and two different brown versions, all of which were very nice and shiny and smooth and designed to be wiped clean. However, when we actually started to get these out to check them, rather than just measuring them, we discovered the blue is actually spray painted, and there's no smooth finish at all. Not only is it spray painted, but on a couple of the units we looked at, it was spray painted quite badly with bubbles, and the finish is just not what we wanted at all, and nothing like we were given the impression in the shop that it would be. In fact, I don't think the shop even knew that it was a different finish, to be honest, because this blue is a brand new product from King Platinum. So we're in the process of trying to get that changed to a white set of doors, which is going to be a lot easier for us to keep clean, and I think less likely to wear away. I think when we've done a bit of hard cleaning of something on the blue, it will probably wear off. It's a very, very thin coat of paint, and it's rather like a very basic unfinished coat of paint you would find on a car, respray for some damage before they've rubbed it down with wet and dry. It's very, very different and not acceptable to me or Suntory. So we're in the process of making a formal complaint about that, and that will be changed hopefully, because one thing I do know from the consumer law in this country is that they have to give a proper description of the goods and adequate information to their purchasers, both of which they fail to do, because it doesn't mention the change of surface in the brochure, and they didn't have any samples available in the shops to show us. So ultimately, if they don't play ball with us, we'll start quoting consumer law to them, which isn't very strong in Thailand, but it is getting stronger, I think. The companies are realising they can't get away with things. Anyway, we're not asking for a refund or anything. We just asked them to change the units to a different colour. So, in theory, they're not really losing any money. They're losing a bit of inconvenience by having to supply new units and to get them delivered, but they're not losing the order. Right, we're at the end of this day. some trees just spreading out some stones that have been moved. We're getting through tons and tons of stones here actually, but it's necessary. I think we've had 8 cubic meters in theory so far, and we need at least another 4 in my view. We probably need another 8 to be honest, but we'll have as many as it takes so that we can have a nice weed free and well drained area around our house.